Okay, so here we are today. I'm going to go over how to bounce a ball, and we're going to go over a simple version and then we're going to make it more complex. So I'm going to change my timeline here from 100 to 200. It's just how we normally work, force a habit. So first things first, and we're not going to deal with squash and stretch today, you're just bouncing a ball. So the only thing you need to worry about is this controller, this green little line here. If I look in the perspective view, what I'm talking about is this star, this right here. So, and it's called the ball main control. So that's all I need to worry about. So first thing is I'm going to set a key on everything, and I'm going to make sure that my options right now I'm set to 24 frames a second, and I'm going to make this all nice and splined. To begin with. This is the easier way to deal with it. We're going to go over a more complicated way later. So, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set a key. I'm going to hit S, boom, sets a key on everything. And down here I get a little tick mark for a key right there. So it means a key has been set. So, being in side view, how do we bounce a ball? First of all, I'm going to go from bring it up first and make sure auto key is on, which it is, so every time I move it, it will auto update. If I look in my graph editor, there's my Y. If I move this down, it moves down. So I'm going to start from the top, and we're going to bounce the ball to a stop. So first things first, how many frames does it take to get to the bottom? I'm not sure, so I'm going to go to frame 10, set a key. And since I'm just going to go down to 0, we're going down to 0, just label in 0 there. So now, since I'm only really keying one thing, I have frame 100, frame 110. So now I'm going to have it bounce back up. So it took 10 frames to get down, so coming back up, it'll probably take 9. So I'm going to hit S, and now we're going to go up. So I'm going to hit W for move, hold down Shift, and I'm middle mouse dragging up. We'll move it in the viewport, or I can just grab the Y up. So I don't want it to go as high as the previous time. So before, let's just add in a value of 12. So this one, let's say 11. I'm going to do this very mathematically. So that was 9 frames up. So it took 9 frames up, it's going to take 9 frames to get down. So let's go 9 frames. So let's see, 19, 9, so there we go, 9 frames. Let's set a key. Again, so now, set a key going down to 0. So first of all, let's just take a look at this real quick. So right now, yeah, that's what it looks like. So, and let's go back up. So 8 frames up. So let's see. 8. Here's 8 frames. And again, let's see, that was value of 11. Let's go value of 10. So it took 8 frames up. It's going to go 8 frames down. Yes. And that's going to be value of 0. Or, if I'd so like to, I can go back to frame 28, middle mouse drag it as you look in the viewport, nothing's updating, and I can then hit S. It'll bring it back down. I'm essentially copying that frame, that point in time over. So right now, this is what we got. Doesn't look like much of a bouncing ball. So let's just kind of continue this on really quick, and we'll get it to come to a stop. So real quick, this is what it looks like. And unfortunately, it's very linear right now, and we don't want that. We're going to want it to be a little bit more complex. So I'm going to turn on buffer curves so I can see where I last was. So we wanted to kind of do this kind of parabola down motion here. So I'm going to adjust these curves. It's not so linear anymore, it's a little bit more of a slight curve parabola between them. And let's see what it looks like. Okay, 2 up, so let's go another 2, another 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. Alright, so now I'm just going to go there, there. Keep zooming in, very minute changes here. So, what do we have? Doesn't quite look like a bouncing ball, doesn't feel like a bouncing ball, but the timing is getting there. So, first things first, now we gotta deal with our tangents. Right now everything is, you know, slow in, slow out, slow in, slow out. So for these apexes that's okay, but the troughs here, we want it to speed up as it's coming into the trough, and we want it to speed out. So it hits the ground and speeds out. So we're going to take all of these little troughs here, all the way down. And I'm going to, first of all, break the tangents so that they're different colors. And I'm going to turn them linear. So now we have what we call a fast in and a fast out. So when we play it, the ball feels much more like a bouncing ball. And if you notice, it's almost like the path you would draw as if the ball was taking that bouncing ball path. But we need a couple more tricks here because it needs to be a little bit more of a parallel. We need more hang time in the air. So I'm going to select these tangents and a middle mouse, moving these so that they feel and look better, as if you were drawing a path of a bouncing ball. You can see my buffer curves where I last was, and we'll reset those in a moment. Again, zooming in for the more and more detail. And this is where it gets tricky. How do I transition from the 2 to the 1? And we'll deal with that in a moment. See, these are all 1 bounces, so it doesn't really matter, the tangents actually, because it's only 1 frame we're dealing with. So how does this feel now? Feels a lot more like a bouncing ball. You get a little bit of a hiccup right in this area here. Here. Yeah, right here. So that should probably be more like that should probably be a 1 framer. Almost. Let's make it 2. A little bit higher up. Doesn't feel right. That transition is the hard one. Nope. Let's try it. This is trial and error. Feels a little bit better. Alright, let's keep it as that. That's the weird transition point. So now, let's go to reset our buffer curve. It's this button right here. Bam. Now, we reset our buffer curve so it fits exactly kind of. We're going to see where we left off from that. See what that looks like. Alright. Okay, so now we have a basic bouncing ball. Okay, so now how do I get it to go through space? Well, since we already have auto key on, let's frame it over here. We're going to have it bounce across the screen to, screen right. So key's already been set there. We're going to go to frame 216. So right now we have all these keys on our Z, which is this. We're going to go through space. We don't need all those keys. Let's get rid of all of them. Just delete. So now we want the end frame to be over this way. And all I'm doing, now I can just move him up here as well. Let's go to there. So what's that look like? very linear, just stops. However, let's move it over there. So let's have it come in at speed, and we're going to have it come to a stop. So let's reset our buffer curve. Okay, alright. Probably moves too far for what I want it. For the speed, for it to be believable so that it stops. Actually, let's go to there and let's have it roll that last little bit. There we go. Easy. Alright, so now that it is bouncing through space, let's do this little trick I was talking about. So I'm going to need to set a few keys. So I want this key, so I'm going to hold down I, changes my cursor, and I'm going to insert a key there. I'm going to go 2 frames after. I like that placement. I'm going to set a key there, and then we're going to set another key once before, and the once before is fine for now. This is just in case. So we want this to be slightly lower, and these keys don't matter a whole lot. Now if you look, it's getting a little confused as it goes through. So actually, let's get rid of that key and make him go slightly higher. So if you look, there's my keyframe right there, and if we go slightly higher, he's higher on the bounce after. So he's going to feel like you only feel it. It's very slight, but it feels like he's accelerating out. Whereas the other bounces don't feel as lively. And there's one little thing we have to massage here, and that would be this guy right here. So again, I'm going to set a key, holding down I. I'm going to set a key, holding down I, and set a key, holding down I. So it's this point in time that I need to massage. Because it feels like he comes in like this, and I need him coming in like this. So this guy needs to be a little bit farther forward. And it's very, very slight. There we go, that's better. And then we're going to continue that little process. So again, I'm going to need to set 2 keys here. We've got 1 and 2. So this key, I'm going to bring it slightly lower. And the key out, all I'm going to do is change the tangent to be slightly higher. And you get that nice lively bounce. But again, we're getting that little curve coming in, so I'm going to go through and do exactly what I did before and change these. Change the Y, the Z. And I'm just going to repeat that process all the way down until we get to the smaller bounces down here. Same this guy, he can come down a little bit more. So what that effectively does is we are exaggerating. It's one of the 12 principles. We're using exaggeration here to make it feel like the ball's alive, to make it feel like he's bouncing, and make it feel like he's rubbery, even though we're not using squash and stretch. This principle of the one frame before is lower than the frame after the bounce. So before the bounce is lower than the frame after the bounce. The principle for that will come a little bit later when we deal with squash and stretch. But for now, this is just a nice little trick, and it's our first entrance into exaggeration. So last thing I need is what? I'm looking for, he's not rolling. So we need to have him roll. So one more control we're going to turn on. It says show ball rotate. We're going to turn that to on. Now since it was keyed, I'm going to have to do one little thing. So I'm going to say on, and now we get a new controller that comes on. So under this guy right here, let's kill all of those keys. Don't need them. So here's the fun deal. Let's just rotate it. There we go. So now that it's rotated, and we don't need all these keys either. It's rotating through space, but we need to rotate them a lot. And the biggest problem is right in here. So right now, he's rotating, but pretty slow. But the trick is to get this part to feel right in here. Now, the trick to that is we're going to use the grid, and we're going to use the texture on here to trial and error this guy. And he's coming to a stop. Just like this is going to look very similar to our Y, which is at speed, slowing, stop. And again, this guy is at speed, slowing, stop. But right now, he's sliding through here. He needs to keep rotating. So I'm just going to keep eyeballing this until he's possibly rotating more than he's still sliding, but less. Again, we need to speed this up here. Still sliding. And again, this is just, there's no science to this, there's no trick. It's just when this point is on the ground, it should roll over that point. So if I say, I'm going to turn on show, where is it, locators. I'm going to create a locator, and just to show you. So we got a locator here. Let's make it nice and big. I'm going to bring it over here. I'm going to put it right in the floor, just like that. So the ball should rotate right over this piece of the floor. Wherever he is straight up and down, he needs to rotate directly over that piece. So basically, I need to sit here and oops, sorry, I'm rotating the wrong thing. I want to rotate on this guy, which I just did wrong. So it's not a big deal. Real quick, all we need to do is copy this guy here, and we're going to transfer that rotation over. So go to edit, copy, can delete that guy, and we're going to go on to this guy. I'm going to set a key. Which one do I want to? I want to paste that on the Y. So select the Y, edit, paste. There we go. Just go in the wrong direction. Easy enough. Okay, fixed. So the reason why we want it going through the controls, why we want it animating through the controls, is mainly because of squash and stretch later on. We want to get you in the habit of that. So still sliding an awful lot, so we need to rotate him a lot more. Now he's rotating faster than he's moving. So now we're getting closer. Oh, almost. Ooh, I think I got it. Now you can see how the one point. So if I take this locator and move it right there, he's hitting that point, and that point is moving directly over that point. Perfect. Sweet. Trial and error works. So now I go back to my view. Let's turn the grid back off. Let's turn off these NURBS curves. Let's take a look at our little animation. So now we have a ball that comes to a rolling stop. Now there's one other piece that we can actually add to this to make it look a little bit better. So we need to add a few more frames here. Let's go to 300, and we're going to add a little rock back in space. So he's going to hit this, and then he's going to move backwards just ever so slightly. But so let's add like 20 frames on, and I'm going to hit S. And so he's come to a stop, and I want him to ever so slightly move back, and that's too much. So when I say slight, I mean slight. So we mean slight, and he has to come to a stop. So still too much. It's half that. A little too much. It's a little bit better. All right. So now I need to have it rotate backwards the other way. So again, same process. Where does he stop in time? He stops at 270. Set a key. And again, I'm going to zoom way in. I'm probably going to turn on my grid as a frame of reference. And whoa, way too much. That's my buffer curve. That's too much already. Let's go half. Still too much. Almost. There we go. If I turn on my textures now, I'm going to turn off my grid. There we go. Nice little settle. So what's this whole thing look like now? Let's turn off my grid. What do we got? We have a bouncing ball with rotation. And that, my friends, is how you make a bouncing ball the easy way. The next tutorial will be going over how we're going to work for the most of the class, which is in step mode. Much more of a 2D animator approach. This way we're taking advantage of the 3D package a lot. We're letting the computer do a lot for us. The next time around is going to be a lot less of that and more on you as an animator. See you in class.